So another part of the leak that emerged was the existence of a brand new controller, which, if the timelines are correct, we should be seeing that actually this year. And it actually looks like a really interesting evolution of the existing controller, which I have to say, even without some of the extra functionality being mooted, it is my favourite controller at the moment. Oliver, you've taken a look at this. What do you think about this new controller?
I think it looks, I mean, I frankly, I think it's very cool. It's got like precision haptic feedback, which would presumably be similar to what we see in the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller. It's got an accelerometer, and there's mention of quieter buttons and thumbsticks, modular thumbsticks. It sounds like the battery isn't a AA compartment anymore, but is instead some kind of rechargeable battery pack, but one that's removable. So that should do well for preservation of hardware. And I think it looks really cool. The only caveat is that it sounds like the Sebile controller, which is what they're calling it, is still a little bit up for discussion within Microsoft, and that potentially some of the controller's features could be reduced because they have this concept internally which is called Fairhaven, which is presumably the refresh branding. I think that's their internal code name for the refreshes. And they say that not all of the Sebile features are necessarily going to be delivered in the final product, but that the product is approved within Microsoft. So some of the more interesting features like direct to cloud interfacing, maybe those won't show up in the final product.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, direct to cloud is quite interesting because it will reduce latency, right? And the idea is similar to what we saw with Stadia, that your client hardware would be talking to the cloud, but separately, the controller would have its own direct connection to the cloud. And so, in theory, the inputs should be getting to the server a lot faster. So that kind of makes sense, I guess, if they're fully sort of invested in the cloud going forward. And it looks like they are from this document, but I think that might be one thing that's possibly dated on that. But anyway, yeah, it looks like a really interesting controller. I also like the idea that it would be plumbed into the PC ecosystem. So you'd think that there would be standardization on stuff on the PC side for the haptics and the accelerometer.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Which I don't think is the case at the moment, Alex.
It's not. No, it's all based on the DualSense or I guess if you're kind of into the Steam controller stuff that existed in the past, getting that like those sticks working there for games like in a user approach, you can customize those if you want. I look at this and I ask the question that I think a lot of people in the audience always ask about these Sony, Microsoft, Switch controllers. Where are the Hall effect sticks? Where are the Hall effect sticks? Everyone wants them. It's super old technology at this point in time, and it increases longevity and precision over time of sticks, demonstrably so. And yet, I mean, they say new modular thumbsticks improve longevity, continue to build improvements. We don't know what that really means, so who knows? Maybe this is actually part of there, but I look at it and I think, what about that? But I guess one of the things that the haptic feedback will be great for is that for people who will enjoy that thing, I don't, but for people who will enjoy it, the experience with DualSense on PC is less than awesome because not every game's programming against it. Not every game has it. And it's definitely not going to be happening for a majority of games over Wi-Fi, over wireless connection. It usually requires, I think in like 90% of cases, it requires actually the game to be plugged in to your PC with the drive, with the USB, I want to say dongle, USB cable, because there is no general DualSense driver for Windows from Sony. So this would put Microsoft in control of those things. And it's like we know for X Input, Xbox 360, it is like the best way to, like some of the best ways historically to do like controllers on PC. So yeah, that's exciting for those people who like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really interesting. It seems that there are a lot of features that they've kind of backported, if you like, from the Elite series of controllers, which makes you wonder what's going to happen with the Elite series of controllers. Yeah, so, but yeah, I think it's a really interesting design. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing it and having all of this stuff kind of standardized into a the standard controller is pretty cool. Might also see some interesting patches made available for older titles to make use of these features, which would be fantastic. It'd be great to see some of those DualSense implementations sort of brought back to older titles via patch updates. I'm not sure they're talking about resistive triggers on this, which is what the DualSense has, but I have to say that's the part of the DualSense that I actively dislike. I just don't like the way it's implemented. Why make it harder to shoot your gun?
Yeah,
that's kind of like my.
It's definitely my anti. I'd always turn it off in every.
Also,
game.
the Xbox controllers have those vibration triggers, which I actually find for some games, like racing games, give a very useful level of additional feedback.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right?
So I'll be quite interested to see how this all pans out and whether it will actually be arriving this year and to what extent it matches the original vision here. Because as Phil has said, this is kind of like old data, old information. So it'd be interesting to see whether it does actually come to pass.